What is up guys, it's your boy Swole. I'm here back with another Classic WoW video, specifically for the Classic Era servers. I'm going to be talking about my experience playing on Classic Era recently. Now the last few months, I would say the last 4 months, I've been playing a bunch of Classic WoW on the Classic Era servers, both on the regular PvP clusters and also obviously hardcore. I want to talk about my own experience playing on the Classic Era servers and why you should maybe consider giving them a try based on my personal experiences here, and just talking about why I personally think the Classic Era servers are so brilliant. So first of all, one of the many reasons why I went back into Classic Era was that they were taking off. I started playing them again sometime last year, and ever since then there's been a significant increase of player base, increase of players coming back to Classic Era, both on hardcore and the regular PvP clusters. For, in my case, Farmo for example, both on the Alliance side and the Horde side, there's been a bunch of people coming back, which is fantastic. Classic WoW is baseline a very good game, but it's much more enjoyable when you have people to play it with. A lot of people to do dungeons with, doing battlegrounds, world PvP, just people playing in the open world. It's an MMORPG after all, so seeing people in the open world is a big part of the game itself, and being able to, well, if you're not playing hardcore and just playing on the regular Classic Era servers, then being able to do dungeons, do battlegrounds, world PvP, and being able to group up with people is a massive part of that aspect, right? So having people to play with, huge part, and therefore seeing this increasing player base is absolutely fantastic. One of the other reasons why I personally do love Classic Era right now is that it provides a very different experience than what you got in Classic WoW, in like a good way. So right now when you play on Classic Era, these are static Classic Era servers. Is it called static? Stagnant? I don't know, but it's basically set into the last patch of Classic WoW. It is exactly what it is. It's a Classic Era server. It's based on the finalized version of Classic WoW Phase 6, and it's going to stay this way forever, with minimal changes. Every now and then Blizzard does something to help the game, like recently they've been fixing some NPCs where people can basically try to grief others on the hardcore servers, for example. So they're adding minor fixes here and there, like hot fixes, but for the majority the content is the same as it was in Phase 6. This means if you're brand new to the game, you can join right now, and you can go right into Sulgarub, Anikiraj, or even Naxxramas if you want to, if you just want to skip Molten Core. You can also start ranking up, do PvP, do Blackwing Lair. The choices are yours. You are given a world based on the finalized version of Classic WoW, and it's up to you to explore the world the way you want to explore it. And one of the many ways people are playing the game differently is that right now on the Classic Era servers, there is pretty much no racing. There's no racing. There's no like racing aspect, no race to world first, no race to world first level 60, no race to world first Molten Core, nothing like that, because it's all been taken. These servers have been here for quite a while. They're based on Classic WoW, which came out in 2019, so instead of focusing on leveling to level 60 as fast as possible, getting as much gold as possible, getting the best gear possible, you can throw all of that competitive aspect out of the way and focus on having a good time. Enjoying the time, whether that is through leveling or at max gear level or end game. You can just focus on enjoying your time, having fun, and making memories that you can share with people. So if you're playing with friends, you can create memories together. There's way less of a competitive aspect. If you played in Classic WoW, that competitive aspect was huge. People were trying to level as fast as possible, to play the game as efficiently as possible. People were doing like, to level up for example. Right now you will never see a mage cleave or an AoE cleaving group inside dungeons. If you're level 40 plus or 30 plus looking for a dungeon on Classic Era, people are just going to invite you based on if you're a tank and they need a tank, you'll be invited, right? If you're playing a tank, they need a tank, you'll be invited. If they need a DPS, you're playing a DPS, you will also once again be invited for the majority here. There's no mage cleaving, AoE cleaving, melee cleaving, no farming Scarlet Monastery 24/7 with a specific setup. People might still farm dungeons, but that's just because people enjoy doing dungeons. I haven't seen a single mage or melee or AoE cleaving group. People are just doing dungeons, inviting everyone, and there's way less focus on going as fast as possible, and it's more just about enjoying the experience overall. Now, I can only speak on the leveling aspect because I've only been leveling so far. I have a level 60 character in this one right here, but I haven't really done too much endgame content because for Classic WoW, I really do enjoy leveling. I enjoy playing different classes, doing different things, questing, dungeons, farming a little bit, just playing in different classes really. So the leveling experience for me is massive, and so far in Classic Era it's been absolutely fantastic. Just having that mindset of the mindset shift of not having to compete against other people and just focus less on leveling fast and more about just taking my time, enjoying the game, learning the game as well, because there's some quests I've never done before. It's just a whole different experience for a very good part. It's like playing Classic Era right now is much more like Vanilla WoW was always meant to be played, rather than how people played Classic WoW. Because when Classic WoW came out, it was like people had one last chance to play Classic WoW, and they wanted to do everything. They wanted to get all the gold possible, gear up their characters to as much as they can, level as fast as possible. They just wanted to do everything as fast as possible. Now it's more about just playing Vanilla WoW. Here you go, you have Classic Era, you have Classic WoW Phase 6, do whatever you want, right? And that is the approach Blizzard has given us as well. They haven't done anything to Classic Era, really. Like, when it came out, it wasn't even popular at all, and all of the popularity increases in recently has just been a natural growth for Classic Era, which is beautiful. People are just naturally gravitating back to the game and playing the game because they love the game itself. So right now we have a finalized version of Classic WoW. You know these servers are based on that version of Classic WoW. You can play the game the way you want, there's no competitive edge. You can just take your time, level up, do PvP and do raiding. Of course you can still level up as well, like you can still gear up and get pre-bis, raid-bis, all of that stuff, but you don't have to focus on doing it as fast as possible, because once again, there's no racing element here. Now, of course, some of the problems, I will quote that and just call it problems from Classic WoW, are still here now as well, because once again, these are servers based on Classic WoW Phase 6, and they're supposed to be exactly what Phase 6 was, which means, as of right now, mage boosting is still a thing on these servers, but it's way less of a thing, because not everyone, once again, there's no competitive edge to having gold. There's not too many GDKPs running. I haven't really seen that many. I think I've seen a couple of GDKPs, but not really that many. People are just plugging raids using a rolling system, but gold isn't really that big of a deal on these servers, really. You can still buy things on the auction house, of course, but you have to remember, mage boosting was massive back in the day because it was a big way to make gold, and making gold right now in Classic Era and making gold in 2019 in Classic WoW can't really be compared. It's not the same, because people have copied their characters from Classic WoW when TBC came out. When TBC came out, to these Classic Era servers. So gold isn't really the same this time around, ergo mage boosting is also not the same. It works the same way, but there's way less people both doing and buying mage boosts, because once again, you don't have to worry that much about leveling up fast, it's more about just having fun. A lot of people are still doing mage boosting, sure, but it's not as big of a deal as it was back in Classic WoW. You see a bunch more people out in the open world just leveling, having a good time overall, which I personally think is great. One of the other problems that still are prevalent on Classic Era is also botting, but once again, because gold isn't that big of a deal, you don't see too many bots on Classic Era either, at least not as many as you saw in Classic WoW. So really, what I'm trying to say here is that I'm having a ton of fun playing on the Classic Era servers, and to me, this feels a lot more like how Classic WoW was always supposed to be played, or at least not Classic WoW, but how Vanilla WoW was always meant to be played. And the current Classic Era, the way people are playing right now on Classic Era, reminds me a lot more of the Vanilla WoW type of gameplay than Classic WoW did. Classic WoW was a lot more about min-maxing, now it's more about enjoying the adventure, having fun, and creating memories, and just enjoying the game as it is. So that's pretty much what I have for today. Just really wanted to talk about this today because I haven't given too much of my attention to Classic Era as a whole recently. I've been focusing a lot lot on the hardcore element because I'm playing a bunch of hardcore, but I really wanted to take a look, I wanted to take a second today to talk about Classic Era as a whole and talk about why it's so good. Either way, I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, leave a like down below, let me know your thoughts on the Classic Era servers in the comments as well, and make sure to subscribe for more Classic WoW content. Also, check me out on Kick and Twitch if you want to watch me streaming Classic Hardcore and just Classic WoW in general. Throw me a follow, the links are down below to both my Twitch and my Kick. I'm live pretty much all the time just streaming Classic WoW. Either way, thank you so much for watching as always, and I'll see you again very soon.